Kevin,
Mhm.
um, do you find that? Well, I know the answer, kind of know the answer, but I'm not sure. Gay men, gay clubs, drugs are a huge, huge part of gay sex life. And to do many of the sexual acts that you're talking about, usually drugs are involved. You find that then that becomes a dependency that I want to do this thing. I want to do this thing, but I don't want to do the drugs anymore. And if I don't do those drugs, then I won't want to do this thing, but I got to do this thing because that's who I am. And that leads to some serious drug addiction.
Oh, I absolutely. In fact, I have flirted with people before and suggested we try this particular kinky activity and had that guy telling me, no, that I totally associate with meth and that will just set my brain off. I can't even think about trying that again because
Exactly.
yeah. It's there's definitely, but I am like very what always encouraged when I run into like sober kinky guys,
But
guys who
what percentage, how often, because this is a huge part of this conversation, unusual kinky sex,
Mhm.
more often than not, in my experience, I'm cutting out here, more often than not includes drugs.
Well, and that is one of the reasons that people have to be educated about how dangerous that can be, especially with like impact play or any sort of I mean, you can really physically hurt yourself if you're to or I guess there's all sorts of ways you can hurt yourself really if you don't have enough of a mind about you. I've heard of people having blackouts, from either whatever drug or alcohol they might be on in the midst of like some really intense kink play and going to a place psychologically that was almost like having a hard time understanding what's reality and what's not and ending up a bit traumatized. So, yeah, uh, uh, it, most BDSM is so loaded that, kink educators will insist you have to be very mindful of what kinds of drugs or alcohol you might be doing if you do engage in this activity. But you're right, Paul. I mean, there is a lot of that out there for sure.
So that to me, Eric Reba, is the most valuable function of your show, the Mystery Box Theater. You present, I think, an opportunity for people to express, learn, engage in different avenues of sexuality, and you without drugs. You don't
Yeah.
preach against drugs, certainly, but without them. And that's very, very important because it's a
Mhm.
very slippery slope.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
thanks for that.
that was really interesting for me to hear. Thank you, Kevin and PT, because I consider myself to be, I don't know, kink light. I like kink, but I don't like have to have it all the time, and I don't label myself as that, I guess. Um, but anytime that I've experienced or tried new kinks, I've always negotiated with that partner that I was going to
Mhm.
be engaging in that act with. So know whether they were on any type of drug or anything that would impair them. And I don't do drugs, so that's not a part of it for me. But it's always discussed ahead of time and negotiated. So I'm glad
When
that
you say impair, I say enhance. You say either, I say either. It's not always impair. Drugs can have a very, very wonderful positive
yes.
combination with sex, but it is a
I
very dangerous, slippery slope.
I didn't mean for that to sound judgmental. I was only responding regarding what Kevin had said about like, yeah, you do need to be careful, especially if there's impact play or something like that. I guess that's
Mhm.
where I would be, wanted to make sure that that everyone's all good.